And the MLS is like gaining traction. A lot of people don't realize it, but like a lot of stadiums and stuff like that. Like I know certain markets and everything. Like the Atlanta one has been sold out since they started their franchise like
Yeah.
a year or two ago.
Atlanta, Portland, the LA teams do pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City actually does pretty well.
Oh, that's actually unexpected.
Or they only have well, I guess they have the Chiefs. I was gonna say they only have the Royals, but
yeah, they got some options.
They got the Chiefs.
But, I mean, the Chiefs weren't that great up until the past few years. So like the fan base for it's Sporting Kansas City is what they're called. I think they've actually been pretty good in the MLS, and I think they gained a decent amount of support.
Yeah.
What about the isn't there a New York team that was also just started or?
There's two. There's the Red Bulls that have been around for a while. And they had Thierry Henry as their coach for a bit, who, if you don't know who that is, he was a really good French player that played for Arsenal. And he was on the Invincibles team, which is the Arsenal team in like 2003 that went undefeated for an entire season. Which is crazy, but you forget that undefeated technically is draws as well. So they had draws. They didn't win every game, but they didn't lose for an entire 38 game season, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's still insane.
But the other team is New York City FC. So it's technically they're like a sister club with Manchester City.
Oh, okay.
They had a big Premier League guy go there a few years back, like when they were actually, they had two. They had Frank Lampard, who was just recently the Chelsea manager, and then David Villa, who played for Barcelona in Spain for a really long time.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah, I know the MLS is trying to make ground in soccer and everything, and like we went to that soccer game me and Dylan did in Madison, and that was I didn't even know the MLS had created a League One and League Two. Which is pretty cool too. So they're trying their best to start becoming, especially after the disappointment that the USA team had in the last non-qualifying.
Yeah, literally an island nation of less than probably Iceland, Trinidad and Tobago, drawing or whatever it was. I don't remember, but the other teams I forgot was Florida has Orlando City. And they had Kaká, who was a super big name, and then Miami FC just got created by David Beckham in the past year. I think
that's the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, they had Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi, who were both like big-ish players in European teams that they got.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, the MLS is starting to really gain a lot more ground, which is I've always enjoyed it. There's not a market for it in the US so as much, like it hasn't been at least. Now they're starting to be, so it's one of those where it's not as readily available as other sports, obviously, so it kind of falls to the line, to the side. So I'm actually excited for it. I do enjoy it whenever I watch it and pay attention. I just don't enough. So I'm glad that they're starting to gain a little bit of traction in the United States. And, obviously, like you said, after the disappointment against Trinidad and then, the USA team just winning its first, well, here we go, Dylan, the CONCACAF.
CONCACAF.
There we go.
That was the Nations League, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, the Gold Cup is coming up in like a month, or I don't know if it starts in July, but that's when the USA will be playing. So that'll be like more American teams. So like, I forget who's all in it. I think there's a lot of South American teams. Then there's also the Olympic Games. There's soccer too, and there's the Copa America going on.
Coming up soon, right?
The Olympics, or
I think so. I think so, right? Yes.
At some point soon. And the thing with that is, it has to be. They have to have a lot of youth players. You have to be under a certain age, but you get a couple like overage players that are allotted to the teams. Like I know Brazil has a really famous right back that they designated to the team to be one of the overage players.
Oh.
Interesting. So it's got to be a lot of like quote unquote amateurs or like younger. Interesting. So
you won't see as many stars in that one.
You could hear a hot take. I I wouldn't be surprised if like the MLS keeps on moving and you do get people to get to like go to games like we did and stuff, like keep the tickets cheap and whatever, just get people in the door and everything. I could very easily see that eating into baseball's long-term plans, which seems super like a hot take because it's ingrained in like American culture and whatever. But all the Zoomers and everything right now, I don't think they care as much. I know I certainly don't care as much because of the way that's presented. But yeah, I could definitely see them starting to eat into that because they're not adapting to, streaming services, accessibility, speeding up the game, anything like that. But the MLS is going to keep having these teams that you can go to and like go to cheap games, see everything, get the experience. I could see that starting to take a hit in a while. I think baseball will be super late to react and maybe unwilling to react that based on the past 10 to 20 years. But I could see that definitely impacting it.
Yeah, I think that entire conversation is interesting as a whole because the accessibility of soccer, like there's a reason that Ronaldo and Messi have about like 80 million followers on Instagram, whereas someone who's recognizable here, Tom Brady, has like 9 million. Like just the global reach for those players, and like it's such a globally played game. Whereas like you just need a ball. Like obviously you can make nets out of anything, but you need a ball to play, and that's about it. And it's also inclusive. Whereas like now we have softball and baseball, but like NFL, like you don't have a women's league, and brings up all the topics for that. And like there's a reason that soccer is a global game, but you get the American perspective of a lot of people who just like smash, hit hard, and they think that soccer is boring because it's not a goal every 5 minutes. But there's a reason it's sustained itself so well literally everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and like the women's league, like you're talking about too, like tremendously more popular than like the WNBA and stuff. Like I hear about different like women's leagues player all the time, like whether it be from like NFL stars, like JJ Watt's wife. I think there's another superstar's wife who's also like Julie Ertz, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's on the
She
USA
plays for
team.
the Chicago team as well, the Red Stars, I think.
Yeah, so like you hear about that. I hear about that stuff like in a very common time. I don't know of anything else in the WNBA. Also, again, accessibility. You need the whole court. Everything a little bit harder to get at. But I think that's bleeding together a lot more than everything else. So I think it kind of just plays in the same conversation. It's easier to get to and easier to relate to.
Yeah, and that's why you see more like TV rights being taken in the US. Like the Premier League used to be barely on ESPN for a while. It was in the mornings and they had the coverage. Then NBC took it over and they made it like a really big deal for them. Like they've really gone all in on it, and now they have their own subscription for it on Peacock. And they had the whole NBC like Premier League Gold before that.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, there's so many things that it's going for it. I mean, even like in a technical production standpoint, I know like if you're ever in a store, you want to get a new TV or whatever, or you're like displaying anything on monitors. One of the first things I always do is like, oh, this is what a 4K broadcast of literally any soccer game, because you could see covers the entire screen. It's more of an incentive as well. If you want to have like a 70-inch screen, you could basically see the entire pitch and everything as well. There's a lot of things that kind of go for it, on top of accessibility, but technical standpoints as well. There's a lot of things flowing into that. Streaming services, I think Futbol TV is one of the more popular ones as well. They're pushing a lot of sports and live streaming and tapping into that sort of audience that a lot of other places aren't. And even like NBC Sports, like you said, they're coming into it a lot and they're spending a lot on streaming. And one of the biggest plays I think from Futbol TV, I think, is any form of soccer, any league. I think they're trying to get to that because
I think they have La Liga maybe.
Yeah,
just a Spanish league.
Yep. They're like dipping into that a lot. They've been back and forth. There was a lot of questions about, if the streaming services can rely off of sports, and then in lots of cases that is pretty much what all people are like holding on to cable for, is usually going to be sports. So obviously YouTube TV had that, but Fubo specifically targeted that audience as well. So yeah, there's a lot of positive things going for it in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I've like I said, I've always enjoyed it, and I actually got way more into all of it when I went down to Kentucky, because all of my friends down there played FIFA and were huge like fans of soccer and stuff. So and I like it's funny when you joke about playing a game, but like the thing is like you play the game, you get to know the players, and then that gets you more involved elsewhere. So that's why I always say that that's why like for not so funny, but that's how you started to watch the NFL and everything,
Literally.
is because I literally made you take home my Madden game, and then you started playing it, and then you got to a point where you knew the players and you started watching the games.
Yeah,
like it's just
you sucked me into a life of disappointment. Thank you.
I made you a Bears fan. I molded you into a Bears fan that's gonna be just disappointed and sad.
Yeah.
But hey, here we're here for it, and every year
You created a new definition for the argument that video games can cause mental trauma and incite violence in younger children. So
Who knew it was a sports game rather than a shooter?
yeah, it was like Grand Theft Auto, right? Like we have to shoot all the people. Be like, nope, I was just playing the Packers, and I just kept on losing every time. Ridiculous.
For some reason, Andy Dalton wouldn't throw it to the Bears player.
Yeah,
throwing it to the other team.
it's like when you have like 100 throwing power and you make it like a custom character and there's 0% like zero accuracy, and like they throw and it goes backwards at like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. This is like the negative yard punt or something like that. Like this is that kind of style.
Yeah.
Catches the wind.
And I mean, even if you want to stem off a discussion as that is like on top of like video games inspiring different audiences and like capturing people, like man, they need to. I know it's like a tired argument anyways, but like Madden needs to go to a different publisher or inspire some sort of competition. Obviously the same can be said for FIFA as well. Just like literally a competitor to inspire any sort of different features, anything.
There is a competitor for FIFA, and they're slowly buying out like rights for a bunch of huge teams and competitions. It's called Pro Evolution Soccer, PES. Like they have the rights to Juventus and Roma, so like EA can't license those. So in FIFA, they're instead of it being Juventus, it's called Piemonte Calcio, and Roma is Roma FC, which I don't know how they got away with that one. But also like PES has the rights to the Euros, so like they can do all the promotions right now at the tournament and do their own stuff, but EA can't. So they have like a festival of foot right now for all the tournaments, but like PES has the actual individual rights to Euro 2020, so like they can use all the stuff they want, whereas EA has all the rights to the Champions League, so they have like they can make cards and stuff with that and do stuff for live events with that. So PES is eating into it, but it's going to take a lot to get rid of it because EA came up with the whole Ultimate Team concept.
Yeah.
And that's what draws people to the game.
No, like that I didn't even know about that. That's cool. No, not even like draw away, just like literally inspire some sort of competitiveness to do something different and add.
Well, the NBA has that too with 2K, and then you have NBA Live, which NBA Live is an inferior game, of course, but like
they
at least
used to be great.
Yeah, they used to be great, and they're still there. And so it's one of those where like, trust me, if NBA Live suddenly started to be great again, the amount of 2K players that would jump over is astronomical. So that's why it's not a scare. It's not like something that 2K can brush off. Like they actually have to address like things that NBA like Live is trying to do. Like 2K has to be like, okay, we're going to include those features as well and make them better. So that way you guys want to come to our game, which is obviously just going to make the game better. And it's funny because Madden this year is supposed to be like, I'm a big franchise guy, and I know Madden this year, franchise wise, is supposed to be like overhauled with the scouting and coaches and all that. And there's like a whole bunch of new stuff in there. And of course, Madden still is not a spectacular game by any means. We're not saying that, but vast improvements because of all the hate they were getting for so long there, where literally people were like, all right, this is it. Like, this is just bad.
Well, you saw the things like, they'd have like the backgrounds, the advertisements and everything in the stadium. There was like, they would literally pull the assets from like 2019 or whatever. And it was still in the game. Like that was one of the biggest things. You'd go up in the background and it would be like, like they advertise the same game in the game. So like Madden NFL 2019, but it was like the 2020 version of the game. Like literally the laziest thing that one guy in QA could have been like, hey, wait, we use that. Can we change the text just so it says 20? And they, nope, didn't see that either. Didn't do that. Didn't care enough to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got in trouble real bad for that, so they've really kind of tried to overhaul the game as much as possible this time around, and it's definitely a lot better. I've already pre-ordered it, of course, because I know I'm gonna buy it anyways. So I pre-order it so that way it's done and I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm gonna get it anyways. Doesn't matter. Like some people are like, oh, you should wait to buy the game until it's, until they put the improvements in that you want. And I'm like, I
You're
can't.
gonna be
do
waiting
that.
a long time.
Yeah, I just can't do that. What?